everyone, welcome to Bickering Book Reviews. I'm Sarah,
And I'm Becky.
and today we're talking about Scythe by Neal Shusterman. It's like riding a bike, right? So this book is about Citra and Rowan, and we're set in a world where basically we have overcome death, and humans can reset their ages to a younger age, and so they can live essentially indefinitely. But to overcome, like to come over overpopulation and all of that kind of stuff, there is a set of the society that are called Scythes, and essentially they're like Grim Reapers, essentially. And so they cull or glean or kill people in society to help with overpopulation. Now, in part of all of that, you've got it's called the Thunderhead, but basically it's essentially the cloud. um, and so AI has taken over the world. And of course, this book was written several years ago before AI was the thing that it is that we're talking about today, and certainly probably more than what it's going to be 5 years from now. If we're all still alive and all that fun junk. Um, and so basically, Citra and Rowan are tapped to be Scythe Faraday's apprentices, and as it turns out, it's rare for a Scythe to have more than one apprentice, but he does, and they have basically been told, and like it feels like a spoiler, but it also feels like the crux of the book. Um, there can be only one. Essentially, only one of them can go on to become a full-on Scythe. And so try not to be too spoilery about this book. I'm gonna start with the fact that I absolutely love Neal Shusterman, and it's this love for his books is to the point where I'm like, I don't want to know anything about this man because I don't want to ruin like my love of this book. But I also get that there are problems with this book because we've talked about this for like work, like for book discussions. I get that it's not like, I don't know, but I love it. Gosh, I love it. So interesting.
So, and I know a lot of people because I had not read this book before, and I know it won a Prince Honors book. It was like it's a big book. Um, I will say I've been told that the second book like really kind of opens up the world better, and that the second book is really what it gets you. I will say to me it did feel very parallel to Unwind.
See, and I liked Unwind better. The second time through, I really enjoyed Scythe, and it's potentially because the teens at my library were talking about it and really enjoyed it. And like, so that kind of colored things. It also could color the fact that AI is the way that it is and that our world has become what it's become. But I certainly liked Unwind much more than I liked Scythe from my first time through reading it.
And that's the AI thing is very believable. And I can't remember if they tell you when Scythe is supposed to be based.
No, because the years get weird. Like
Oh, yes.
they stop counting the years and they start like assigning them to animals.
Right. Random. Right. And so,
You're the capybara.
and it is like, it is an interesting look because you've got to figure like if people aren't afraid of aging, because they're not, because like they'll have people who will say things like, what was it called? Was it turn the
Turn the
page?
corner. Turn
Turn
the
the
corner.
corner. They would turn the corner. And so you would be like 80 and then you would turn the corner and you would go back to being like 25. And then like you might find somebody new and like have like new kids and have a new life. So, I mean, like it is an interesting thing. Like, what would people do if you don't have to worry about aging? You don't have to worry about your health. You don't have to worry about about dying. Like, what would those relationships look like? So that's interesting. And it's also was interesting because like there's this there's like this cult almost around the Scythes. Like some people are afraid of them. Some people like worship them. There's like trading cards and stuff. So like that's like they're celebrities. So that's interesting too. I feel like there was a because he did create a world, there's a lot of world building. So the book does kind of feel kind of slow at times, which is probably why a lot of people say the second book, which I think is called Thunderhead, really is where it takes off and like And because
I
the setup at the
isn't it called
ending of like
Gleanings?
what
I think it's called
happens,
Gleanings.
I'm sorry,
Isn't it called Gleanings?
Gleanings was the short stories.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought it was Scythe, Thunderhead, Toll, and then they just released a bunch of short stories.
I need to figure it out because we're reading the next book for book club. So it was so good for book club that we're willing to keep reading in the world.
I mean, there is a lot to talk about. Like this, I can see why, like, at one point, the school that's in my library district, it was an assigned reading book for summer, and I can see that. But I will also say, like, at the end, like, where the story ended, I was way more interested in where it was going, like, where Citra and Rowan were going next.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of like different scythes kill people different ways, and I thought that was really like showing like their personalities and like can we end things kindly versus not.
Well, and I don't know, and I just keep coming back to like Shusterman does his worlds and his creep factors in such a way that it feels so believable. Like I could see our society getting to that point. And I think that's what makes it so haunting. That's what makes it stick with you. That was what makes it interesting. Is that it can be so believable. Like and just like the how religion factors in, how all of that factors in. Like he thinks about all of that stuff. I don't know. And I don't know where else I was gonna go with all of that.
Well, and I kind of think like that was the thing with Unwind was like Unwind, you felt like this could be happening, like particularly Unwind. And that was, I guess, my thing with Unwind also was that you have like you had like these parallel like there was like a cult in Unwind, like the clappers, and then you had the people in Scythe that were with the tuning forks, and there were like two or three things that I was like it felt very similar.
Oh, I totally. And I've decided that Shusterman must be obsessed with homemade ice cream because it factors into both Unwind and Scythe.
Yeah,
Just so random. Well, not homemade ice cream, but like ice cream, like good ice cream.
because they do talk about the ice cream a lot. Like I feel like it comes up a lot in Scythe ice cream.
Yeah.
Um, so like it's an interesting read. I don't know if it's enjoyable though. Like it's not like a take to the beach and read for fun.
No, but it's like watching The Last of Us or whatever, like zombie books or End of the World. Like End of the World genre is my jam, whether it's TV, whether it's movies, whether it's books, like put me there. Like that's what I want to read. I definitely don't think I'd survive it, but that's irrelevant. That's like where I want to be. Um, I don't know. So I enjoyed it. I blew through this book. It was awesome.
So we should rate it.
Yeah. So our rating scale starts at the top with 5 unicorns if we don't like it, and it doesn't get a horn and is therefore a horse. So where are you?
Kind of a three. I don't know if my expectations were really higher because everybody, like going into it, everybody said it was so amazing. I felt like it feels very much like a pilot of a TV show to me. Like I can see like it's setting up the next book. I can see why it was a Prince book because it's so different than anything else and it's very literary. But I don't know, I didn't walk away completely satisfied.
So my rating is a 4 and 4 unicorns. And I think had you got me after I read it the first time, it would have been lower, but the second time through, it's definitely higher. I do think that the romance was unnecessary and undeveloped, and like that really kind of hurt the story. Um, but by and large, I think it does have it has stamina, and people do really like this book, and it is certainly something that I could recommend to others. So I enjoyed it. And so that's where we are on Scythe by Neal Shusterman.
And we'll see you around.
Bye.